What's up? What's up? What is up? You know what it is. It's another Friday, another opportunity to get together and record the experience that is known as the Ball Hog Sports Talk. Today's episode is going by the title of Efficient Breach of Contract, a term often used in contractual law, a term often used in business deals, a term often used in the entertainment space, and now it's going to be a term that this crew of businessmen who get together to discuss sports and an entertaining fashion will use to discuss sports. You don't want to miss this one. It's going to be quite the show. You know who it is. It's the Ball Hog Sports Talk crew coming to you live. If you are a part of the live audience, we ask you to like, comment, share, tag a friend, tag a foe, tag anyone that you know, and please subscribe to the YouTube channel and to the podcast. The whole crew is in the building. 2 men, businessmen, get together, discuss sports in an entertaining fashion, and it is known as the Ball Hog Sports Talk, where sports, business, and entertainment collide. With no further ado, girls and boys, dogs and frogs, cats and rats, anything and everything in between. Make sure that you get comfortable. Pull up a nice chair. Fill up a nice mug of your favorite coffee. Spike it with whatever you'd like to spike it with. The Ball Hog Sports Talk is coming to you. So let's go. Wake up, wake up, wake up, and stay woke. Because this is the Ball Hog Sports Talk with your boy, B. Brown, ESQ, a.k.a. the Ball Hog, a.k.a. the Mouth of the South. This is the place where sports, business, and entertainment collide. And we're going to give it to you rough, rugged, and raw, so come get you a spoonful, like some grits with butter and salt. You know how we do it in the South, y'all. Make sure you do not get caught in your feelings. Strap on your seatbelt and enjoy the ride. Come on, let's go. You know what it is? You know what it is, man. Once again, it's on. I get to be here, and I feel fortunate to be in front of this microphone, and I feel even more fortunate to be in front of this microphone because I get to do this. I get to enjoy this experience. I get to deliver this sports, business, and entertainment in a rough, rugged, and raw manner with the man, the myth, the legend, thou shall be. Internationally known, intergalactically respected as. When you say his name, say it with your chest. Make sure you sit up in your chair. Make sure that you do not make eye contact because he likes to fight. He's from the Middle Coast. He is the Big Flow Show. What's up, my brother?
That's good, man. Sometimes I agree with what you say. Sometimes I really agree with what you say. You should be honored to be out here with me, man. I mean, let's just say what it is, man. And I don't mean that in a humble way. I mean that.
I don't mean that in a humble way. Not an ounce of humility. I feel you, my brother. I like that.
I'm not saying that to be humble, man. I'm saying it's because, a lot of people wish they could do that.
A lot of people, man. But they all can't be as lucky as I am. Yeah. I'm with the Big Flow Show in the building from the Middle Coast.
Write me down. I don't know where I line up in your list of blessings. You know what I mean? When you count your blessings and stuff, I don't know if I'm 2, 3. If I'm beyond 5, something's wrong. But I just, count. Let's put me in the list.
Fair. Touche, man. Touche. Chicago is a great place to be.
My blessings too, though, for the record.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate that. I'll take that compliment. But the Chicago is a great place to be in the summer. You guys are transitioning now to the fall. Is it still a great place to be? You got the Bears and all that.
Let me check.
You check. You know what I mean? Make sure you check.
No, it's still decent. We still got a little something going. Let's say it's 67 degrees right now. We're gonna get a high of 73 around about 1 o'clock. Be all right.
This is good weather. I think that so, and I have very fond memories of Chicago, being a Notre Dame man who spent a lot of time, driving that 90 miles to the west and enjoying the big city. That was our refuge from a small rural USA community in South Bend, Indiana. We were trying to head to Chicago. But there was a certain month that beyond that month, I ain't going to Chicago. We ain't there yet, but we getting there close.
You know what? I go by, I live my season I live my life one football season to the next. And like
that.
I try to say, like, okay, how many games did I get to steal in good weather? And that's how I judge the year. So, like, if I can get to the last November game and I'm still in a light jacket, you're not gonna hear much from me.
Global warming, baby.
Last winter, I didn't have much to say. God gave me a full season with no winter coat, no craziness, whatever. Nothing. You're not gonna hear anything from me. You can have December and January. I need to chill sometimes anyway.
I need to chill sometimes. But today we ain't gonna be talking about chilling, man. We're gonna be talking about dipping out of there. Peace. Deuces. Today we talking about an efficient breach of contract. Today we get to deal with contractual terms. I get to use all of those days of teaching contract law and sitting in that doggone contract law class wondering what the hell have I done. Transitioning from playing in the NFL to law school was quite the about face. Today I get to use that, man. Today I get to really talk about sort of the transition from the legalese of contract law and the efficient breach of contract, and connecting that to the street terms. And there are some unwritten rules on the block, if you will, in the neighborhood, that every once in a while it makes sense to show an efficient breach of contract. So we're going to get into that today, man. Before we do, man, anything you want to say to the people? Before we hop right in, anything you want to say to the people? Want to say to the people?
No, actually, I just want to say I'm looking forward to the show. Let's talk about this. Let's see what's going on. Can't wait to hear about the sports. I want everybody, actually, I take this back. I want everybody that's here to check in. We're having issues the last few weeks with comments being surfaced, so we don't try to ignore you. If you know us personally and you don't hear me say anything about your comment, feel free to text me. I do look down at my phone quite a bit because I get people to text during the show, and I hate not having the feedback, and I hate not acknowledging people that take the time out of their day to watch it. So we don't see any comments as of right now. Last week I found a bunch later. Anyway, I digress. I just say a comment, check in if you're here. Thank you.
Please like, comment, share, tag a friend, tag a foe, and tag anyone you know. And please subscribe to the YouTube channel and the podcast. Now, I just would slightly disagree because you be like a brand new. You will ignore somebody. I don't ignore people, but you will ignore somebody. I've seen it done. It's that old light skin.
Those are alternative facts, as Trump would say.
Light skinned it. You be like a light skinned it. I want to hop right in, man, because we did see Thursday night football last night, and there are two teams with storied organizations and histories that got to play last night in the NFC East, a division that has always been celebrated because of the teams that are there, the big market teams that exist in the NFC East. Mean that the NFC East always draws a lot of eyes. Last night, we had the Dallas Cowboys. How about them Cowgirls? On the road, playing in, I was going to say New York. New York is playing in New York by way of New Jersey. You do the math. And it was a good game. I really, now look, at the end of the day, the Cowboys won. So the Giants are 1-3. But I've got to take back some of the things that I've said about Daniel Jones. I was looking forward to the Giants moving on as we talk about efficient breach of contract. The Giants spent all this money on Daniel Jones. I was very, very ready to say they should move on. Several fans have said that they should move on. Which, in the contractual terms, on behalf of the organization, on behalf of the fans, they were calling for a breach of contract. It's time to move on. It's time to cut your losses and get on out of there. Daniel Jones shut me up last week by beating my Cleveland Browns. And I got to be honest, he didn't play bad last night. He wasn't the reason that the Giants lost, but he wasn't the reason that the Dallas Cowboys won either. Great game, phenomenal game. The Cowboys outlasted the New York Giants last night in Thursday Night Football, which, because of the contractual terms, we don't get to see that on ESPN. That's only Amazon Prime. I won't go down
I
that.
still don't like that.
You don't like that. I know. That's why I say I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole. But so we won't go down the terms of why they went Amazon Prime. But there were two key injuries at the end of that game. Micah Parsons got hurt and is set to get an MRI on his ankle. And Malik Neighbors, after having a phenomenal game, breaking a record. Sometimes I just think they be making up these records. He had 12 catches last night for 115 yards. But in his second catch, on his second snag of the night, he became the first player in NFL history to, I had to write this down, have 25 receptions and 3 TDs in his first 4 games. That seems like such an arbitrary collection of stats.
It's like a baseball stat. It's the first left-handed pigeon-toed guy that was state educated. You know what I mean? Like, come on, man.
State educated. But Malik Neighbors is.
I've been wondering what that logo is on the side of your head so much. I finally dropped something to say. I was like, what is that thing?
Yeah, that's the Dark Knights logo, man. So I'll get to that before the end of the show, man. I got on my hood. You want to talk about that? That's the Dark Knights, man, because we got a big game this week. But with Malik Neighbors in this random arbitrary, he's the first to ever do it. While that is indeed its own head-scratching statistical disclosure, Malik Neighbors is putting on. He's putting up big numbers. And in terms of a rookie, it seems as though he's already sort of dusted off the mantle for the Offensive Rookie of the Year award.
Mm-hmm.
And there are a lot of good candidates. But with those numbers, he seems primed to win that award. But at the end of the game, he sustained a concussion on a 4th down, which he almost made the catch. Would have been a brilliant catch. He had fancy toe tap footwork. But the reason he was not able to maintain the catch throughout what they say, maintain the ball throughout the catch.
Because he was asleep.
He was asleep. He had a concussion. And that was about roughly only 10 plays after we saw Micah Parsons, a perennial Pro Bowler and one of the best rush linebackers in the whole NFL, also go down from what is being described as an ankle injury. The reason I'm giving those injury updates at the beginning of this is because in this show, we're talking about efficient breach of contract. If anyone has ever wondered why the NFL contracts aren't even worth the paper that they're written on, they have no guarantees whatsoever for the most part, 99.9% of them. Unless your last name is Mahomes, you don't have enough guarantees to really protect you from the risk inherent in playing in the game. NFL teams, historically, from the beginning of time when they started signing these agreements, from the beginning of time when they had this NFLPA, Players Union, the players have been on the wrong end of what we like to call leverage. And so when you look at the leverage or lack thereof for the NFL players, you look at these players that, with Malik Neighbors sustaining a concussion, he'll be fine. He's got to go through the protocol. With I almost called him Malachi. Micah Parsons sustaining the ankle injury. Hopefully with his MRI, he'll be okay. This is a wonderful time on the heels of Thursday Night Football to talk about how fans don't seem to have an issue with the efficient breach option from the organization standpoint, from the franchise standpoint.
Never that, because they represent. Well, it depends. Depends if they get rid of a good guy. I mean, technically we're not saying breach here, but when they just kind of go against what it was, but like Roquan Smith, we got rid of him in the Chicago.
I mean, technically it's a breach. It's an at-will contract, so breach is
not everybody went to law school here, man. Not everybody knows exactly the technicalities of the breach. The bar exam is something I've yet to sit for. Okay.
Yeah,
I
that's
still,
next week.
yeah, I'm still could happen. But
It
I
could
have
happen. What's up,
shout out
Hollywood? My man, hey, my man S. Wood, man. Whenever
that's
one of our
the
teammates chime in, we gotta at least acknowledge him. Hollywood
man.
says, did B.
So
Brown just really say Daniel Jones played well enough to change his mind? Not change my mind, but he's played well enough that so I live amongst a bunch of New York Giants fans here in New Jersey.
my condolences.
And I started dubbing him as Danielson, having real fun, a lot of fun at his expense. And he was terrible, this, that. He didn't look terrible last night. He looked as though he's at least worthy of some confidence amongst the Giants fans. That's as far as I'm willing to go. He didn't change my mind. Sorry, I interrupted you, but anytime one of our teammates go, I want to acknowledge. What's up, Hollywood?
Welcome,
Thank you for the comment.
Woody, aka Woody.
Woody Wood.
Mr. Miami Dolphin, Chicago Bear. Fun fact, he spent the year with the Bears. He wanted to hang out with me for a little while, so he spent the year with the Bears, but mostly known for his years with the Dolphins. Anyway, has Daniel Jones had a neighbors type receiver before? Has he had that kind of talent around him? Because I think it's really easy to just hate on these quarterbacks, and I was surprised when they drafted him. You know, coming out of Duke, I'm like, who's this guy, right? But I mean, honestly,
especially with our current experience with the Duke quarterback. But I digress. That Notre Dame dude, man. I feel like we got a lemon. They sold us a lemon. Anyway,
we got exactly what he was before, though, a running quarterback, and we're doing the whole stuff that we would do in Notre Dame. We would recruit the option quarterback and see if he could drop back and pass.
I feel like he was throwing a little better at Duke. But anyway, I digress. I'm messing you up. You were on a path that I took you off.
So my point is, in his defense, and I'm not saying that he's a great quarterback or anything like that, but he's got this great weapon right now. Has he had weapons like that before? I can't think of the last receiver that they had that was a big deal that he would play with.
Because I mean, I don't know if he had Odell Beckham in that last year, but it wasn't.
I don't know if he
prime
did
Odell Beckham.
But there's a reason why Odell Beckham was left there, right? Victor Cruz has been gone since Methuselah was in high school, so I don't know that he's had a weapon, and now he's got this weapon, and he's doing big things. So sometimes you just got to look and see what's around, because that's why you end up like Chicago, where you get rid of a quarterback and he goes 3-0, and you got a guy over here changing the culture and getting beat. Right now, you start wondering, just like when Brady left Belichick and won a Super Bowl. You wonder who it was. I have been saying not to totally switch topics. I have been saying don't get rid of Fields. I thought Fields was a good quarterback. I'm not a big fan of this Caleb kid. I don't think he's tough. I don't think he's the.
You don't like that he paints his nails, man. He cries in his mom's bosom. That's not fair. They got nothing to do with football.
It sure does. So I'm not a big fan of Caleb, and I think Fields was good. I think we were winning games with him. We had offensive where he was fantasy stats filling the books up. Well, okay, Pittsburgh figured it out. Now they're using him. Now we're only 3 games in. He could lose the rest, and Caleb could win the rest, and we'll look back at this moment and laugh. But that's just my thought. So, I'm happy to see they stuck with Daniel Jones and give him a chance, and now he's doing some things. You know who really shocked me on that team? Not shocked me, but who's stepping up is that Thibodeau.
Oh, yeah.
He kind of had a slow start, man, but he was like unblocked. He outplayed Parsons. To me,
last night he did. I mean, Parsons had a hurry at the end that could have changed.
And Thibodeau was, looking like reminded me of myself. He was coming around that corner. Sometimes I just get worked up. I like that. He was coming around that corner, man, like he couldn't be blocked. So
yeah. I thought when you look at the NFC East and you think of Philly having its ups and downs, you think of the Commanders and their rookie quarterback, who played very well last week. If the Giants could have figured that out, it would have been literally the definition of parity in the division, where all teams flip a coin who's going to win it. And I still think that we're almost there. The Giants being 1-3 puts them in the back seat when it comes to the division. But those injuries late in the game, the injuries that you and I have dealt with, the injuries we got Woody on, that as an NFL player, Woody dealt with, and even before that in college, the injuries that have haunted so many players. And for the longest, before we had some of the new innovations, that opportunities that players have in the collegiate level, bear with me here. I know we're talking about the NFL, but at this point, I'm calling them college football, the minor leagues at a minimum, if not NFL light. But for years, the injuries allowed the institution on the collegiate level, call it the University of Notre Dame and other colleges, Power 5 colleges. On the NFL level, it allowed the franchise, whether it be the Bears, the Dolphins, the Giants, or the Cowboys, to exercise what was in their minds known as an efficient breach. When you sign a contract, let's say it's 5 years for whatever number of dollars. Very rare in the NFL that you'll get to the end of that contract because either you've played so well that they have to renegotiate before you exercise your options as a free agent, or you're playing so poorly that they exercise what they think is an efficient breach of contract. At-will terms means that they can get out of it any time, so I'm overstating this efficient breach thing when it comes to the NFL, but I'm making the point for us to get to a different point. And I'll start with the definition. An efficient breach is simply, in contract terms, one party choosing to break the obligations and their duties under the contract and just pay the damages associated with that instead of fulfilling their obligations.
Sounds like a divorce, but okay.
We're going to get to that because in this week's news, Cardi B and Offset, they spilling all the tea. We're going to get to that. There are a lot of divorces out there.
Okay, you can just take your half and go.
We can just take your half and get the hell up out of here. We're going to get to that. But the way you heard it is the way that it is in reality. It's like a divorce. When the Giants move on from Daniel Jones, Danielson, as I like to call him, which I thought would be this year, probably won't be this year, right? They'll be willing to pay him anything they need to in order to move on. When colleges have moved on from coaches, they're willing to have an efficient breach of that contract because in their minds, they're thinking, well, I'm going to lose all of these doggone dollars from the boosters by keeping this coach here, not doing the job that we hired them to do. We're going to continue losing games. We're going to continue losing recruits. And so it would make more sense to breach this contract intentionally, ignore the terms of the contract and move on and pay whatever clause there is in there that says that there's some sort of payment that you have to make. It'd be more efficient to do that than continue along these lines. Anything that I have just described has been from an institutional side, does not sound out of bounds. Fair?
Fair.
Right? Historically, we don't think everything that I just described sounds like par for the course, how business is traditionally done, and would make sense for said university when moving on from said coach and said franchise when moving on from said player. Fair?
Fair.
That's why this particular story, right? The NFL on Thursday night and watching the injuries brings up the relationship between institution and player. What has happened recently is now the player, and this is where it gets real interesting, the player is now having just as much power as the institution. Matthew Sluka, I'm assuming that's how you pronounce that name, took center stage this week, not because he led the UNLV running Rebs to a 3-0 start after transferring there, not because he, from a prospect standpoint, is someone that NFL teams might be talking about, not because of anything college football related. It's because he decided to redshirt himself. What do you think about Matthew Sluka and his decision to essentially redshirt himself? Redshirt himself, for those who don't know, means I'm going to go ahead and opt out. There's a certain number of games you can play in order to use up your red shirt. We are at the tipping point. We've gotten to that point in the season where if players play beyond this point, they lose their year of eligibility. Matthew Sluka said, thanks, but no thanks. Matthew Sluka said so according to his agent, who I know, and I hope that this all works out for them. But according to his agent, UNLV has not held their end of the bargain when it comes to a $100,000 payout related to a name, image, and likeness agreement. And the whole world is up in arms. And it seems as though, now this might be the circles that I run in, but it seems as though most people are saying this is an example of how name, image, and likeness is ruining college football. Matthew Sluka is now the poster child. He is now on the middle of the poster when it comes to all the issues related to name, image, and likeness. All that has been described as bad when it comes to name, image, and likeness. All that is described as awry when it comes to college football, and whether or not these student athletes are indeed students at all, and whether or not these student athletes would dare be called amateurs because of all the things related to money and contracts. When you hear the heat that Matthew Sluka is taking, what do you think?
Well, first, I think we need to level set. There's a lot of people out there that really don't understand how things work, because I keep hearing, well, if it wasn't in writing, then shame on him. Well, here's the problem. NIL rules say that you can't be a pay to play. It can't be pay to come to school here. It can't be this, even though we know it is. And the only way to legally, within the rules, I guess you say, legally make it so that it's not pay to play, pay to come here is you can't sign your NIL deal until you've actually signed to go to the school, right? So herein lies the problem. Everybody who gets these NIL deals has to move on blind faith. We all know that a lot of these college coaches, especially some of these coaches that are trying to land a guy, whatever, coaches lie. Coaches make
what you
things
say
up.
now? What you say now?
Coaches lie, right?
Ooh.
So
that's a mouthful right there.
Somebody once described college football as the best conditional love you'll ever receive, and I've quoted it so many times. If you're listening and you said it to me, please speak up and take it, because I can't remember who told me that. But it makes so much sense because, I mean, these coaches really at every level, every sport, they love you when you make them look good. They love you when you're with the job, and then maybe they'll love you afterwards when your relationship is completed and whatever. But as soon as you come in there and you're not who they think you're supposed to be, and they don't need you, they treat you like a bum on the street, right?
Watch out now. Like
so,
what?
A bum on the street.
This sounds like marriage. You talk about divorce. This sounds like
marriage, right?
My bad.
Yeah. So my point is, yeah, he was probably told he was going to get $100,000 from a guy who thought he could pull it off because he was telling them whatever. Just like they tell people they're going to give you the ball 25 times a game and do whatever, but then the game comes up and they've realized that the game calls for 10 carries and you down to that. People get frustrated and lied to every single day, and every coach and every team in America, someone's being lied to. And they probably told this guy, yeah, we'll get you your money. Yeah, we'll get you your money.
The collective has denied it. The collective denied that they had any said conversation with Matthew Sluka. Of course they did.
And maybe the collective didn't. But in defense of Matthew Sluka, this is all new ground, right? So you and I would sit there and we would talk to somebody. We would, as adults, talking to your son or my son coming out, and he said he wanted to buy a car. He said he wanted to buy a house. You said, well, did you have a contract? Well, did you have a lawyer look over it? Did you do your attorney-client review period? We know the steps to do this, right? Most of these guys, this is their first rodeo. This is their first time that they've come by and they've got offered money to play for a school. So how did he know that the coach he talked to doesn't speak for the collective? Are we going to hold that against him? We don't know that if a coach told you we're going to give you this money, come over here, we got you with this $100,000, we're good, and he sounds pretty confident. It's all love and hugs and steaks and whatever's going on. Everybody's on board. Let's go do it. And even worse, supposedly it was his agent having this conversation. So they can deny it all they want. It wasn't in writing. Yeah, you're right. So of course they're going to deny it. So I think he did what he needed to do for himself. And I think these players need to take care of themselves. You have a certain finite amount of years to be a player. Coaches can coach until they're old and gray or die on the job. The player has a certain amount of years. This guy, might not be an NFL guy. This $100,000 might be the only money he ever earns playing the game of football. And he's not going to waste it at UNLV because somebody lied to him, did whatever, he's going to go. But I will say this, the story's taking a little twist. ETP was nice enough to send us a story. Circa Sports Vice President Mike Palm contacted UNLV officials asking if he could pay the $100,000 to Sluka to try to preserve their season. So now you have this outside guy who's in Vegas saying it would be worth $100,000 to me to try to preserve the season and see where they could go. I think they're overreacting to how well the season's going, but that's a totally different page. I mean, they beat Kansas, but they beat some other teams you can't remember. So I don't know. But if you're UNLV and someone else is willing to pay the $100,000 and you're claiming that you never offered it to him, now he lied on you, right? Do you let this guy back to save the season, or do you say he quit on this team and forget you?
I don't know. I think, if I'm the athletic director, I'm having a very candid conversation with the coach about not this particular player. Because Matthew Sluka, when it comes to the entire strategical position that UNLV finds themselves in, Matthew Sluka is just the name on the pawn. He's a pawn in this game. Matthew Sluka represents to other players that UNLV wants to recruit, not just in football, across the spectrum of sports. He represents a thorn in their side. Because whether or not you believe Matthew Sluka, you believe the collective, it just looks bad. This just smells sour. And let me just say this. And I don't normally, other than in my own house, when I'm talking to my kids, I throw it around. Like, boy, I'm educated. I'm a lawyer. Other than that, I don't really throw around the weight of being a lawyer. But having taught contractual law, having really dived into contract law, let me just say this. All week, hearing people say, "Oh, I guess he gonna learn business now because you got to get it in writing." In order to have a contract, you need 6 basic things. You need to have an offer, an actual offer. You need to have acceptance. That is an acceptance specific to the terms of the offer as they were articulated. You need to have some form of awareness that indeed that the offer and acceptance have been consummated. You need to have consideration. I've got to give something to get something, even if it's ceremonial and it's just $1.
Consummated to me, forget it. Okay.
What happened?
Consummated is what you do at a wedding. So what, do you have to have sex with the person that offers you the contract? Is that what you're insinuating?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
You've got to have capacity, which means that you have the wherewithal, the understanding in order to sign the contract, and it can't be unconscionable. And then you have to have legality. Those are the things you need for a contract. Where did I say you need to have something in writing? Did you hear me say that?
I got sidetracked when you said consummated because I'm immature, but I didn't hear the writing part.
Because it doesn't exist. An offer and acceptance can be verbal. A contract can be verbal. If you would encourage someone to do a contract verbally,
you have to shake on it. What's it? What is it?
It makes it a lot more difficult to enforce if you don't have writing. if you don't have a witness. But that doesn't mean the contract doesn't exist, right? Like there's several contracts that were verbal contracts. If you ask me right now, hey man, I'm trying to sell my car and I want to sell it for $1,000, and it's verbal, and I say to you, that's your offer, and I say to you, I've got $1,000, I want to buy your car. That's my acceptance. A contract essentially, from that standpoint, exists, even though it was verbal. But all week, people have been saying, "Oh man, we see that he doesn't know how to do business." You don't have to have something in writing in order to have a contract.
Mm-hmm.
You just don't have to.
And again, you can't have a contract before you sign to get to the school. You can't. That's against the rules. So therefore, everybody who does it has to sit there and hope that that person didn't lie, which therein lies the problem is it tempts people to lie and exaggerate. And hey, you know what? I told him I'd give him 100 grand. Here's 60 grand. Here's 70 grand. What's he going to do? I always say your job gives you just enough money so you won't quit, right? Nobody wants you to be fat. I'm in sales. They cap all the deals because they don't want us to get so much money that we'll be satisfied, right? So all companies in corporate sales typically finds a way to cap your money so you don't get too much. If you go out there and say, look, man, you have a $1 million budget, I need you to come back with 15 players. I'm going to offer them all $100,000, and then I'm going to negotiate from there once they get on campus, because not all 15 are going to pan out. Some of them I'm going to say, if you decide you're mad, you want to leave, you're going to go. Typically, the quarterback gets his bread, but I think that's the issue right there. They need to allow the contracts. We need to cut this out and make the contracts pay to play, which is what it is. We spend so much time trying to make things not seem like things that they are, like tampering. So they tamper by calling somebody a backdoor. That's how you tamper with somebody, so it's not out in the open. You should just be able to walk to the guy walking out of the tunnel and say, hey, man, I'd like you to come here next year. You beat the hell out of us, right? And it's an open market, just like everybody else, just like they would do with the coaches. Hey, your defense was amazing. If I would get this head coach job, I'm bringing you with me. They're going to do it. So let's just cut the crap and do it. So I think this guy's doing what is right for him, and I support him. This is a year that he can never get back, right? If he plays it out, and if he feels that he's got some money to make on it, I can't pocket watch and tell you what that money means to him. So I believe that he has to do what he needs to do for him. Now they've got the running back that has since followed suit and said that he's redshirting over playing time.
Michael Allen. The UNLV running back is Michael Allen, and he said that his decision is not related to NIL. He tweeted that. He said his decision is solely based on playing time. But his decision is very similar to Matthew Sluka in that he is the one deciding to redshirt. For generations, the institution, whatever college you were at, no matter what conference or even independent, the institution was the sole decision maker when it came to whether or not you would be redshirted. Right? Now, some of those, I won't say the sole decision maker because some were injury related that you didn't have a choice, right? But for the most part, it was a one-way decision. The institution, the college, university that you played at, told you that you were redshirted. Now that we have the name, image, and likeness world in effect, now that we have this very, very interesting space where amateurism seems to be at risk and under siege, now the players also have leverage. And so Matthew Sluka, along with his running back, Michael Allen, have decided on their own that they are going to preserve that year of eligibility and redshirt. The reason that this is here in this particular episode, efficient breach of contract, is because they essentially are saying, I'm going to go ahead and exercise my efficient breach of contract. I'm not dealing with you anymore because paying the penalty, which in this case is under public scrutiny, undergoing the criticism, being in a space of uncertainty, not playing with your brothers on Saturdays, paying the penalty is worth it because in the end, I'm going to get more out of the breach than I would if I fulfilled the contract. That's what we're seeing. And for so long, for as long as I can remember in sports, it's been one-sided. We talked about the Dallas Cowboys and the New York Giants dealing with injuries. You can go down. There are too many examples of an efficient breach that NFL organizations and franchises have had to exercise because the player that they signed this multi-year deal has either dropped off from a performance standpoint, had a drop-off in terms of a health standpoint, either done something outside what they would consider morally aligned with the franchise, whatever the case might be. There have been several examples of the organization exercising an efficient breach of contract. What's happened in the last several years is that the rabbit's got a gun too. Matthew Sluka is showing that the rabbit got a gun too. Now I can make the decision to exercise an efficient breach and preserve my year of eligibility. I'm willing to pay the price. I'm willing to undergo the scrutiny because preserving this year of eligibility to me is more valuable than moving forward. I think it's a celebratory moment, but I'm not sure. I think we should be looking at this as the catalyst for the NCAA finally doing their job. And if nothing else, I think it exposes how the Wild Wild West situation they have allowed to occur was never ideal from the outset. But Matthew Sluka, Michael Allen, you have a defensive lineman from USC, Bear Alexander, this week that said he is redshirting due to playing time. And he said by way of his representative that he calls his father. It seems like it's more of an extended relationship. But by way of that person, he has said they made their decisions in terms of playing time. I'm making my decision in terms of my future. That's efficient breach. But all week throughout the sport pundits and experts analysis of this, everyone has looked at it from not everyone, but largely the majority of takes have been negative and sort of said, this is an example of the problem that we have now with name, image, and likeness. I think I feel a little different, Big Flo.
I mean, look, at this take, first of all, if somebody needs this is the running back you mentioned, right? The playing time guy? I'm not sure I got the names right.
Yeah, there's two playing time guys. Michael Allen was the UNLV running back, and then you got Bear Alexander. Bear Alexander.
Now, the interesting part is Bear Alexander, from my understanding, does not intend to transfer. I think he's like, hey, shirt me, but I'll be here in the spring. The bottom line is,
you could have never done that in the past.
There was a lot more placed on character when we were kids, but now that this is out of the bag and really the coaches have exposed themselves for their complete, utter lack of character when it comes to kicking kids out of school and doing different things, which they did in our day.
Force them into the portal.
Force them in the portal. So no one cares. At this day, as long as you're not going to be in jail, do anything outrageous, nobody's going to care. If someone needs a D lineman that was a 5-star D lineman that's 6'4", 315 pounds and can do whatever he can do, they'll get over that. They'll get over the fact that he sat out and did what he had to go do. And whoever takes him will suddenly hold a position that they don't blame him. They don't know what they're doing over there. They're using you. But no one, the thoughts of people used to run from guys and, they don't care. As long as I don't really like the whole social media trying to get the world on your side stuff. It's just not important. I think just make your decision and go dark. And
different
the
generation, that's part of
they got to go out there and argue their stuff on social media. I think you put it out there that you're going to sit out, if you even need to put it out there, and then you do your back channels and you find a place where you can quietly go. Hopefully, I can barely remember any of these guys' names, and hopefully I'll forget. And then next year when they're on the field, they'll make a tackle. You'll be like, wasn't that the guy? But you have a finite amount of years, right? And then put this into perspective too. Next year is the first year of the salary cap, right? The supposedly $15 million that they're going to be divvying for the teams. If you're facing a chance to play, to have a limited role this year, right? Limited role, and not really make much money, and know that next year is when they're going to start flowing the cash in, why wouldn't you say, I'll sit this one out and wait for next year, right? Why not preserve this year? Because some of these guys will make, they're saying the average Big Ten kid, and this is all speculation, so don't quote me, but the average Big Ten player, oh no, average Power Four player will make $150,000 a year starting next year, right? Based off of this revenue share. Actually, technically, I guess it would trickle down to every level if they decide to opt in, but they're really not expecting anyone other than the Power Four to opt in to the full level, the full rules, or you're not going to have to fully participate. But if you're saying that the average guy is going to get $150,000, average guy, so there's going to be guys getting more money than that, obviously, and probably some guys less, and you're playing this year for no money at all, and maybe you're not taking your books as seriously, and you were an NFL or bust guy, why wouldn't you try to get out of the season? Because this is the most worthless season that's left. It's the most competitive season because it's the last season of the COVID kids. So you got 25, 26-year-old kids out there playing football with you. So they're going to be gone next year. So you're going to have an opportunity to, for once, to be able to play and be older. You're going to get paid more. People got to be dying to get out of the season.
You know
but I
that
do think
flow, as you describe it, you know what I would refer to that as? An efficient breach.
Yep.
That's basically the terms of it. People want to say the agent who I think got hired late. I know him, but it seems like he got hired late in this process. They want to present and represent this young quarterback, Matthew Sluka, as the example of the problem. But to me, this is just the efficient breach has now found its way onto the other side.
Mm-hmm.
The efficient breach of a college coach gently or maybe not so gently throwing somebody's ass into the damn transfer portal has never really been under fire. The efficient breach of a coach, whether directly or indirectly by the way that they're treating a kid, make it such that kid can never, ever play there. They're in the psychological warfare sometimes. We've been inside those locker rooms. We've seen how coaches treat people, not just the head coach, position coaches. It has been orchestrated to free up that scholarship. We've seen that from the institutional side, and it's never been under this type of scrutiny. So for Matthew Sluka to receive so much vitriol and anger this week, it baffled me. Because all it is like efficient breach. Both sides of an agreement, both parties have the right to exercise what would be an efficient breach. It's just been a monopoly on eligibility. There's been a monopoly on your ability to go somewhere else and play for so long under our era that it just hasn't been done. It's been a one-sided fight for as long as I can remember. And Matthew Sluka, while, hey, I don't know the merits of his decision. I don't know if this makes sense, to be honest with you. I've watched a total of 0 minutes of UNL football this year. So let me be fair. Let me be honest. But I do think Matthew Sluka represents the tug of war is finally being pulled to the other side. There's leverage.
Now, I posted, for those of you guys who are watching, not just listening, I posted a comment from Jay Crit. And he said, this type of stuff makes me kind of happy my son doesn't play sports, kind of. And you mentioned the vitriol really kind of baffling you and bothering you. I always had to take a step back myself because I'm a passionate guy and I get emotional just like anybody else. I'm human. These are first world problems. And when I say first world problems, and I use that term a lot, is make no mistake. These are still people who are living a dream that only 3% of high school athletes get to live.
Fair.
The majority of them are going to school, and if they choose to, they're taking advantage of getting an education at schools that most of them probably could not get into on their own merits.
Fair.
And they're doing so free And even more than free, they're getting money on top of it. We got zero on top of our scholarship. They all at least get total cost of attendance. They at least get a monthly stipend that's going to pay for rent and food, whatever, which is high, far and above anything that we ever got. I know you got the little handshake stuff at the tailgates. I didn't get those handshakes,
And
but
whoever was watching, he lying. I ain't do that.
everybody, look, statute of limitations. He was getting handshakes. But anyway, I say these are all first world problems. You know, my son's in school right now, set to graduate in this March. Very proud of him. He couldn't get into that school if he didn't catch footballs, right? He was a good student. He worked hard, but there's a lot of people who are sitting next to him in class whose parents are mortgaging their house to pay for them to get that education. You know, I don't send him nothing. I don't even give him $100 handshake when I see him. So no matter how frustrating things could get in that situation, and I just use that to make it personalize it, I had to remind myself, my son is blessed and he's in a great situation
Fair.
in life. Now, his football situation in comparison to other people's, I can scrutinize that and say, hey, this is not going right. That's going right. But no matter how frustrated I ever get or he ever gets, I always sit up and say, we're winning, right? So everybody here is winning. And I say that to pick on you a little bit. Just your example is from the outside, you can sit there and say, man, I don't want any part of that. Shit. You know what? Sign me up for that stress. Everybody has stress. Everybody has to do it. Sign me up for free and put me in a school that's harder than me to get into. And I think most Americans, athletes or not, would sign up for that.
I'll leave with this because the university specifically, and then the collective also said that they denied that the account of Matthew Sluka and his agent were precise. I won't say they didn't say, they didn't call him a liar, but they did say that the way they described it would have been pay for play. And the crazy part is the pay to play description of anything and how it has been typecast as negative is a very interesting veil that we're putting on the true dispute here. Because in both cases, pay, if you didn't give him $100,000, now he has shown the leverage that he's like, I'm out. I'll find somebody to give me the $100,000. And play. Michael Allen, his teammate, the running back. Bear Alexander at USC, the defensive lineman. Those are now factors that people can use to make their own decision. I think that we're in a whole new world, and I'm happy to see it, to be honest, that the players now have some leverage. The rabbit got a gun too. Efficient breach gives you the ability to let them know what your leverage truly is. In a weird way, I hope we see more of it. Or less of it because the NCAA does its job and structures what should be some guidelines about what NIL should be. That's my 2 cents on it. I'll give you last word before we move on because I definitely got to get to this Mountain West. We got a few more things. Spent a little more time on this than I thought, but well worth it. Matthew Sluka, salute to you, pimp. Good luck in your decision-making going forward. I'll give you last word on the UNLV quarterback saga.
I guess my last word is going to say this is going to happen way more. There's going to be a lot more of this going on until they make these contracts a little bit more different, where it's worth the rights you're giving up. So I think it's going to be more pay to play. It's going to be more contracts with less breach. The transfer portal will be a little bit different than we've seen it. You know, what I wonder is there going to be forced trades? Are you going to be able to tell a kid that you got to go finish at this school? Is that what's next? But in 5 years from now, we're going to look back and say, how did we get here? But I would say that in the meanwhile, it's a dog-eat-dog world. Everyone has to look out for their own interests and no one else's. Do not throw the word loyalty in the garbage. It has no place in college athletics. It's all about the business. It's all about what's best for you and only for you. Because the players, the coaches, the schools do what's best for them and only what's best for them, never the player. you have to do the same, and we have to stop getting sensitive when our team loses somebody that we love and like and whatever. We have to realize we like what they're doing for us, and we do nothing in return. So we have to let them be them and celebrate them and do whatever. So that's my final word.
Very fair. I got to get to this Mountain West Conference because you talked about, well, we both did, about the players and their decisions. We've seen a complete conference realignment throughout all of college football. We have seen musical chairs when it comes to conferences. Well, guess what? Most of those institutions were involved in some contract. But because the grass was greener, because the money was bigger, because the opportunity was brighter in other conferences, these institutions decided to exercise an efficient breach. The Mountain West said, not so fast, my friend. They just got their existing 7 members to sign a memorandum of understanding, MOU, memorandum of understanding, and that memorandum, the terms basically say that each one of those 7 members are going to stay in the Mountain West in the league. They are going to execute a grant of media rights from 2026 to 2032. And they are already eyeing other teams to get the Mountain West back to some form of existence.
Do you have those 7 teams in front of you to read off?
I don't know if I have the 17. Yes, I do. Boise State, Colorado State, Fresno State, Utah State, and San Diego State. No, those are the ones that those are leaving for the Pac-12. I don't have the 7 existing.
You threw me off because I was like, man, that's exactly what I thought was going to be part of the new Pac-12. And I kind of wondered,
those 5 are leaving for the Pac-12. I'm sorry.
I don't understand why the Mountain West wouldn't try to become part of the Pac-12 just off name recognition alone. Mountain West doesn't carry any weight at all.
Yeah, but the Pac-12 now doesn't either.
More than the Mountain West. And
Pac-12 light.
But if you brought the Mountain West to the Pac-12, you lose nothing, right? Because you had nothing at the Mountain West, and you might gain something. I mean, you got a couple better schools there. It doesn't hurt that Oregon State and I know Washington State's doing well this year. I can't remember if Oregon State is or not.
I don't know what Oregon State is, right? But those are the last 2. They got they're standing up in musical chairs. They did not get a seat.
They've got 2 left to get to maintain. They have, I think, 1 more year or 2 more years to get 2 more people from the additional. You have to get to 8 to keep the conference.
And it looks like with 7 members and them eyeing with this Mountain West, they're eyeing Texas State. Texas State will be across all sports. And then guess who they're eyeing? Northern Illinois from the MAC for football only.
They used to be in Mountain West.
I didn't realize that. They were in Mountain West.
They were everything. They were like gypsies.
Wow.
I wonder why they would leave the MAC, though. I think the MAC is a really strong conference.
It's a very strong football conference. Very strong football conference. The MAC is a very, very strong football conference and has been historically over the last 10 years. But my point in that is, look, they did a great job, they being Northern Illinois, and seizing the opportunity.
I was wrong. They were in the Big West. I'm sorry. This is one of our resident NIU alumni football players. They were in the Big West before the Mountain West was around. Correct me again.
Big West. All right. So what I say that to say this: when you hear this conversation about the Mountain West and the 5 teams that departed, and now they're eyeing other teams to try to lure them to the Mountain West, it's a head scratcher that topic doesn't receive the same backlash as Matthew Sluka from UNLV deciding to exercise a red shirt and show what would be an official breach. We look at the individual in the institution so differently, and it boggles my mind, right? Because in each one of those situations, right, the 5 teams that left for the 12. The 5 that I said: Boise State, Colorado State, Fresno State, Utah State, and San Diego State. Each one of those institutions, in order to breach the contract with the Mountain West, had to pay $18 million each. And I'm not no mathematician, but my simple back of the envelope math says that's $90 million of efficient breach. All 5 of those teams decided that it would be more lucrative and better for their brand to breach the contract, the existing contract with the Mountain West, and go to the Pac-12. This is a page 6 back of the newspaper story, while Matthew Sluka, his teammate, Michael Allen, the USC kid, Bear Alexander, are front page news stories. And to me, I can't see the difference between both parties. The individuals as players that made that decision, and the institution as conference members that made their decision to go to the Pac-12. I don't see the difference between the two. Everybody is just finding themselves in an efficient breach situation. Am I wrong? Am I crazy?
Well, that's
because of this story.
You're not wrong, but you're crazy.
It's a dangerous question. Am I crazy to you is a dangerous question. Am I crazy for interpreting these two situations as exactly the same, yet interpreted very differently by the public? Because for some strange reason, we don't think individuals should have any leverage, should have any power, should have any say-so. Is it just because we all are at the mercy of Big Brother? Why isn't Matthew Sluka's story so offensive to so many people, whereas the rampant examples, the 7 teams that stayed, okay, cool. They have not had an efficient breach, but the 5 that left, the 2 teams that Mountain West have eyed as other schools to get over, they're contemplating an efficient breach. Why is it so different when we think individual versus institution?
I just think jealousy. I think it's jealousy. I think that the people of this country are so jealous of people that get stuff that they don't, that they feel, and this, I love it, is, people get mad when someone goes, we shouldn't have paid him all that money. You've heard that a million times, right? You're a fan of a certain team. People on the same fan base say, we shouldn't have paid him all that money. People are so jealous, and they pocket watch.
Like it came out of their bank account.
Like it came out of their bank account. Like, we call up there right now, see if you can get anyone on the phone. All right? It's just we. And I think that's all it is. When they look at these institutions, it doesn't, just like in society, big companies been mistreating us forever. Corporate welfare and things we do forever. People don't focus on that. They don't like seeing somebody get food stamps because that guy, I'm paying that guy's food. I don't like it. We're on the same game. We're on the same field. So they all say, how dare this quarterback deny the fans of UNLV a chance to win games because he's so selfish that he wants to get $100,000. And I say, quit your job and go over there and be a ball boy. Quit your job and go be a ball boy. Since, you know what I'm saying? Like, they need help.
How committed are you?
Yeah, since you're so committed to excellence and you want them to win so bad. Everyone thinks you should be so grateful. But what you don't realize is people who have more than you and people who have situations that are better than your situation, they have feelings too. And it's a new normal, and the standard is set differently than ours, right? Millionaires and billionaires have bad days too, right? And there's things that make them upset too. I can't think of anything that would piss me off if I had $1 billion in my account. I can't, because I don't have $1 billion. I don't think I can have a bad day. As long as nobody died, I can't think of a bad thing that would happen.
I hear you.
Other than death. But that's because I don't have $1 billion. So you can't imagine that you would leave a situation like that high and dry because you're not in that situation. I guarantee this, you go to locker rooms all across America and guys like, man, I like what he did. Not the guys at UNLV. They're pissed off. But guys at other schools, athletes in other sports they're thinking, Hell yeah, they're celebrating him because they've been spoken to from a coach. They've been mistreated by a coach. They've been told things where the leverage was not in their favor. They had to put up with it. Coaches talk to you and yell at you all types of ways because they have your scholarship. They know that you can't, do anything. Think about how many coaches you're real loose around the shoulders. You like to swing them. Think about how many things coaches said to you that if they were a normal man on the street, it would end differently, right? But they have their power position to do it.
It's several coaches because they wore the first name coach. They preserved themselves from an ass whooping. That saved you because your first name is coach, as it pertains to me. Oh, absolutely, it saved you an ass whooping. Absolutely. But the thing that I like with the Matthew Sluka story is that it's forcing us to see the hypocrisy and the double standards that we have. How many coaches have opted out? Hell, if I go from University A to University B, I can go in the middle of the season. I can go before the bowl game. And when I go from University A to University B, University B will pay whatever it takes to break the contract. You talk about efficient breach. I ain't even got to come out my pocket. The next university is going to pay it. And fans seem to take that on the chin with no problem. But here comes Matthew Sluka, the face of everyone's ire because he decided to exercise his leverage. This Mountain West Conference and seeing the realignment in all of college football in the same general time frame as Matthew Sluka's saga, but receiving a lot less backlash, it just has me scratching my head. I think as individuals, we just see ourselves as powerless. As college football players, in our day, when you transferred, if you wanted to go to another D1 program, you were forced to sit a year out. Back in our day, with a straight face, a university could tell you, oh man, well, the value in being here, you don't need money because the value of this education is going to pay off for 40 years. Mofo, please. You're getting paid off me right now. And in every other area of life, if you're getting money from me right now, normally I get my percentage right now. It ain't got to be something as intangible and far-fetched as the quality of the education that one day could pay off. Well, give me a piece of that damn pie that you didn't built up on my back. And I think we've arrived in a very strange way because the NCAA skirted their responsibilities yet again because the institutions are using the veil of third-party payer through name, image, and likeness deals. Even if third-party payer is on campus as a collective, they're skirting their responsibility of sharing a piece of that pie. We haven't gotten there smoothly. So Matthew Sluka, celebrate you, man. You are indeed equivalent to an institution trying to find its place in a conference like the Mountain West. Let's get to this Chicago Sky story because it was interesting to me that the Chicago Sky parts ways with Teresa Weatherspoon after not 2, but 1 season. 1 season. Now, Teresa Weatherspoon was playing a WNBA player towards the later end of her career, but still very effective at the inaugural moments of the WNBA. And yet there was no protection for her in place. They fired her after a year. Granted, the team went 13-27. Angel Reese got hurt at the end. They dropped almost every game after she got hurt. But Angel Reese was in Rookie of the Year conversation up until her injury. She was a record-breaking rookie by getting 15 record-breaking player, 15 straight double-doubles, was a WNBA record. And Angel Reese afterwards said she's heartbroken. She talked about the relationship that she had with Teresa Weatherspoon. She talked about being a Black woman as a coach in this corporate structure and how difficult it is. 2 things. The efficient breach part of it, I guess the Chicago Sky thought it made more sense to break the contract and go find a new coach. But there's an unwritten contract that most franchises have with their star player. And to hear Angel Reese, the Barbie, talk about her relationship with Teresa Weatherspoon and how hurt she is, either she's a bold-faced but very effective liar, or Chicago Sky never spoke to Angel Reese about this decision. And the unwritten rule there, the unwritten contract that franchises normally have with their star player, that they plan to lean on and rely on for the foreseeable future. Not to make it about Caitlin Clark, because I'm going to bring her up for winning Rookie of the Year. But something tells me that if the Indiana Fever want to make a coaching change, the first person they're going to talk to is Caitlin Clark. So what do we think in terms of the Chicago Sky making this move? But also I feel like the Chicago Sky breached their implicit contract with Angel Reese by not even talking to her. What say you?
I have a real problem with them not talking to her. If she's not,
unless she's lying, let's at least say, let's start there. Angel Reese.
Saying, so lying. What would her motivation lie? Just to kind of send what Teresa, like a thank you to Teresa Weatherspoon to say I'm hurt, but I'm really not hurt.
I don't have an answer for that. I don't think she's lying, but I just put it out there as a maybe.
I was just trying to get the angle that you were trying to come across. I can't see an angle as why you, because you're speaking out against your team, and if they did speak to you about it, you're doing it, you're really making the team look bad. So I would think that they would be salty that they say, man, we spoke to you about this, and now you're going to get out there and not support us. Because it's easy just to go out and either say nothing or just kind of pull a more neutral stance and say,
it's unfortunate. This
business situation. I'm just here to play basketball and I can't get involved. That's easy. No one's going to fault you. So if she lied, that's really weird. If she, so I'm going to say that she sincerely didn't know. I just feel like the way the WNBA is going, I mean, Angel Reese has made, for a team that didn't make the playoffs, she sure got them a lot of press. Right?
A lot of press. For
a team that fired their coach because they did whatever, she sure has made an impact on Chicago. We don't even know about is it Barbosa? What's the other lady's name? The one from South Carolina? I don't want to say her name wrong because she gets mad when people say her name wrong.
Which one are you talking about? The tall
one.
Cardoso.
I was going to say Barbosa.
I'm so happy I did that pop. I got that pop quiz right. It's Cardoso.
You got it right. Good, because I had it wrong. So, I mean, like Cardoso didn't put that kind of an impact. And Cardoso is national champ, 6'9", she's whatever. I mean, Angel Reese did that, right? She battled for Rookie of the Year, like you said. She's the reason why people are, Caitlin Clark is definitely the reason why the WNBA is doing what they're doing. But the vice president is definitely
Angel Reese.
Right?
Absolutely.
And so that being said, I kind of feel like you got to show her more respect than that. And you got to talk to her about the situation and see what's going on. But that's why I've always been the help and never the boss.
I've been in C2 for my whole life. I think Chicago Sky jumped the gun on that. And shout out to Crit, because he says that there seemed to be tension between the GM and Spoon, all the press conferences after the draft. So, look, there are certain chairs that sit a little higher than other chairs. And as a head coach, your chair is really high compared to the players. But it looks like a real small chair compared to the GM. So if that's the case, fine. I did, that's news to me. But after 1 year, even if that were the case, hell, give us a year to dust off the cobwebs. Let us work out the tensions in our relationship. Show me the respect that I deserve as a pioneer for this whole WNBA game. Teresa Weatherspoon, one of the best that ever did it. She's one of the few coaches in the WNBA side that has NBA coaching experience. She has been a bridge between the NBA and the WNBA. She's a face of international basketball when it comes to women's basketball in this country. So if there's anyone that I humbly believe deserves a little extra leeway and some more links on that leash, if you will, when it comes to the relationship between GM and coach, how dare it not be Teresa Weatherspoon? And yet the Chicago Sky moved on. This is why I don't like anything or anyone related to Chicago. The reason I talk so bad about you is because y'all see how I slipped that in? It's a Chicago thing, man.
You do know
Something
the
wrong with
Middle
y'all.
Coast is Chicago, right?
Yeah.
Just in case you questioned what you were saying, the Middle Coast is Chicago.
Something wrong with y'all Chicago people, man. Y'all ain't got no loyalty. Moved on for Teresa Weatherspoon. I'm mad about it, but again, another
You don't
example
have
of, in
loyalty.
their minds, an efficient breach of contract. I'll give you final word. Chicago Sky moves on, and we will too. You get final word before we get into lightning round.
Good luck to you, Coach.
Good luck to you. Another Chicago great, someone who went on to play the University of Memphis. Someone who is in these conversations, the conversations about who you would take in certain eras. The conversations about this person versus that person, the greats. Derrick Rose, who has been presented as the model of if he didn't get hurt, what would have happened. But indeed, he did get hurt. Yet he still had a pretty good career. When he got hurt against the Miami Heat, the initial injury, he was playing lights out, best in league, next level basketball. Never returned to that level of prominence as a basketball player. We got to do it, man. We got to do it. We're talking about efficient breach of contract. There were loyalists, real D Rose fans that had this pseudo contract with him when it came to supporting him and talking about his legacy and being on that Mount Rushmore in terms of combo guards. There were conversations happening at barbershops talking about the answer, Allen Iverson in his prime, and saying, who would you take, Allen Iverson in his prime or Derrick Rose pre-knee injury in his prime? It'd be sacrilegious to have that conversation with most people, but we're having it with Derrick Rose. When it comes to that contract, where are we? Is he a Hall of Famer? Does he deserve to be in those conversations about legacy? The injury was unfortunate. None of us could control that. Do we have an efficient breach of contract when it comes to our marriage of his legacy as a Hall of Famer, as a great, as one of the Mount Rushmore combo guards? Or am I tripping? He shouldn't be even discussed as a Hall of Famer, a great, a Mount Rushmore combo guard. Where do we sit when it comes to Derrick Rose?
I've been seeing a lot of social media the last few days about this, since he got released or retired or whatever you want to call it. My first thing that came to mind is, man, Derrick Rose was good when my son was in second grade. He was a monster. My son is in the 16th grade right now, and he just retired. And I'm thinking, like, he went from
that's longevity. We talked about longevity last week. That's longevity.
15 years.
Mediocre at most of the points in the longevity.
However, I think you can say he was a bad boy, one of the baddest that ever did it. But you have to do a hard stop. And then when you start talking about, people are saying, should he get a statue? Should he get, Hall of Fame?
Is that the conversation? Chicago barbershops, they talking about a statue? Where would the statue go?
I don't really frequent barbershops, but that's what they've been saying on the net, the internet. The internet.
Interwebs. Where would the statue go?
Somebody first said Scotty don't have a statue. How you gonna give him a statue? Scotty doesn't have a statue.
That would be so disrespectful. Statue before Scotty gets his statue. So you saying in Chicago?
That's a good point. Where has he been? So my problem I have is, and this is where I think people fall short when they have consideration. I'm not saying you need to call LeBron the GOAT, but when you don't want to consider him the GOAT, when they don't want to put longevity into it. So where he did have a long career, his long career is average as shit if you take away the pre-MVP years. if you take that away, which is only 3 years, I think, when he was in his prime. Killing, though. Killing.
He
He was
was.
killing the NBA. So exciting, man. Well, I haven't watched Bulls games as religiously since then. He had me back to my Jordan era where I did not want to miss a game because Derrick Rose was that player.
He was
And there's
killing.
so few. And I'm a LeBron fan, and I miss LeBron games all the time. Not all the time, but a lot. And so he was the kind of guy that made you not want that you had to make your plans around D Rose and see what the hell was going on. But it just didn't do it long enough. Do I have any doubts in my mind that if he didn't get hurt to the level that he did, in the amount of times that he did, that he would have been that player? I have no doubt in my mind that he would have. Could he have won a championship? Not alone.
Retire his jersey. They come to you and say,
No,
"Hey, we're thinking about
no.
retiring his jersey." Jay Crit said they're thinking about retiring his jersey. He also says the Scotty statue is inside the building. I don't know. We got to fact check that.
It's about
But
a bathroom.
retiring
Probably
D
about a
Rose's
bathroom.
jersey.
No, sir. What number was D Rose?
Number 1.
Was he?
Yeah.
No.
I might have made that up.
I think
I'm
he was
pretty
number
sure
9.
I'm pretty sure Derrick Rose was number 1. Derrick Rose, Chicago. I'm pretty sure he was number 1. Chicago.
Hey, Alexa, what number did Derrick Rose wear when he played for the Chicago Bulls?
He's number 1. Number 1.
Derrick Rose wears number 1 and 25.
Okay.
He plays in the NBA.
He wore number
Cancel.
1.
He wore number 1. Good for you, because I didn't know. You can't retire the jersey. He didn't bring a championship here. He won an MVP, which is fantastic. But he didn't. Could you imagine if him and Butler? That'll tell you about Butler. I don't want to switch the topic, but Butler's longevity. Butler's still doing it strong, and him and D Rose played together and couldn't play together. That was 100 years ago. That was 100 years ago, and Butler's still killing.
And has had successful stops everywhere since then.
I've been killing. But D Rose needs to be celebrated. He needs to be respected. You need to tell your grandkids about him. But he doesn't need the Hall of Fame, and he shouldn't have a trophy.
That's normally who you tell your grandkids about.
He's one of the rare guys that you don't. He's like Bo Jackson in football. Woulda, coulda, shoulda, but didn't. And if you're gonna say, so my problem is this, let's compare it to rap music, right? You come out with 2 albums, fantastic, fire, right? Hit for hit, beginning to end. And then you come out with 10 albums that are mediocre at best. Are you one of the greatest rappers of all time? You can't let the body of work not count. Jay-Z is not the best rapper of all time until you look at how many very, very, very good songs he has, right? He may not be your favorite rapper, but to look at his body of work and see how many great albums and how many hits he gave you, it's disrespectful to not put him in the top bunch of rappers because of how high of a level he played for as long as he's played it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So, but just because you have a really nice hit in the beginning, look at Ja Rule. You come out real strong, everything's good, and then
it's murder.
Yeah, we love those. You can't say that those songs. If I put on Ja Rule's couple albums for you right now, you rocking, man. Whatever. It's going hard. So music makes it a little easier to look at and how you view it. But Derrick Rose was a generational talent. Now, question: Derrick Rose's best 3 years versus Allen Iverson's best 3 years. Who you got?
I love this conversation. Would love over nothing more than over a drink, us having it. But by having it, don't we then undermine the longevity that you just discussed as not the component or the factor in legacy conversation, but an important one? If we want to just extract those 3 years, all right, cool. We could do that, and I'll play that game with you. I'm still taking Allen Iverson because that was just my era. I think what he was able to do with his size was amazing, but I ain't gonna be mad if somebody takes Derrick Rose. Derrick Rose was far more explosive at the rim. I think Derrick Rose was just as iconic in terms of changing the cultural dynamic of the game as Allen Iverson. The game was just so stale and conservative when Allen Iverson got there that we give Allen Iverson more credit for changing the cultural dynamic of the NBA. But Derrick Rose was a true combo guard that was attacking the rim and playing. He was changing the culture of the game too in terms of the backcourt. So I would still take Allen Iverson. I wouldn't be mad if someone took Derrick Rose 3 best years from both careers going head to head. I wouldn't be upset if someone took Derrick Rose. He had an MVP run where ain't too many people in the history of the NBA that have had the NBA MVP run.
It's pretty good basketball player. Shout out to D Rose.
Yeah, shout out to him, man. But here's where I brought up D Rose, because D Rose, and I'm taking this angle, and then we're gonna go lightning around and get on out of here. The D Rose angle shows why efficient breaches are important from the other side. What do you mean by that, B Brown? What I mean by that is this: the next time your favorite player from your favorite team decides to hold out, shut your damn mouth coming at them sideways, talking about them selfish. The next time your favorite player from your favorite franchise decides to try to renegotiate prematurely because they realize that their play has put them in position of power and leverage to have the conversation, shut your damn mouth when that player doesn't necessarily adhere to your likes and needs of showing up to camp. Why? Because the example of Derrick Rose it shows just how fast things can change. The franchises aren't loyal beyond what is financially desirable and ideal for them. Stop asking the players to do so. The players also can exercise an efficient breach of contract. I don't care if we got 2 more years left on this deal. I know where I'm at from a position of leverage, and I want to renegotiate now. So I'm going to exercise an efficient breach of contract, and I'm not showing up. Just like the franchises, once the injury happens, we got to renegotiate or cut you. This is why players have to fight, especially in the NFL where the money isn't guaranteed. They've got to fight so hard for guaranteed money. Now, as a Browns fan, I wish Deshaun Watson was not so effective in fighting for guaranteed money. So it can come back to bite you, but it is an example of an efficient breach, one that, when strategically done, puts the player, his agents, his family, his friends, everyone who supports that particular player in his business nucleus, the circle around him, puts them in an advantageous position. Let's move to, I don't know if you had anything left with Derrick Rose. I'm going to move to Caitlin Clark real quick if not.
Let's go.
Caitlin Clark, Rookie of the Year. We kind of knew this was going to happen on the first day of the WNBA season, but to her credit, she delivered. Not only did she deliver in terms of her star power and, drawing crowds, record crowds, night in and night out, and the highest crowd ever in attendance at a WNBA game. Not only did she meet the litmus test when it comes to having, because there's a lot of players that hated on her. A lot of players hated on her. Even the most recent game, you can see players ain't really vibing with Caitlin like that. I know you blame it on jealousy. I think it's just a welcome party to the professional ranks. But she was able to do it with all of that. And I feel as though she upheld her contract, the unwritten contract of being the center of the WNBA and making sure that you improve the business and you improve the attendance, and while also having quality basketball on the floor. Shout out to Caitlin Clark. I wanted to make sure that I said that. Congratulations on your Rookie of the Year. you get last word on Caitlin Clark before we take it home with our lightning round.
I mean, I guess I say my thought on Caitlin Clark is look out. I mean, she came in there, they attacked her, they beat her up, they threw her around, they did whatever. She, had a lot of turnovers. I think we start to realize that the turnovers had more to do with the fact that they were the first pick in the draft, and the ladies on her team didn't know how to play with her. So she's better than the people on her team. I watched her play the other day. So she had 25 points in a loss. So I think she had the most points on the court. She missed a lot of threes. And I just say, look, if she just has a normal game, like at the 3-point line, they win the game. They didn't lean on her at the end like I thought they should have. But she's just a rookie. And she's got, I think she finished 4th in MVP voting, which is all popularity contest. But the bottom line is like her numbers are so good. So for everybody who was hating on her, she's done it better than anybody who's come before her in a rookie year. Say what you want. She's done it better than any other rookie in this league's been around 20 years. So
with a lot more pressure, a lot
more everyone is against her, a lot more physical fouls, having to figure out how to go play and do what she's got to go do. She goes to the cup, she drops dimes, she shoots the three. I mean, I just say watch out. I mean, wait till she gets her. She got slighted with the little with the Olympics, but just wait till she starts to
get slighted. You made my hater hat come out. She ain't slighted on the Olympics.
Wait till she grows up a little bit, and she's showing. I mean, her end of season form is all-star.
No, she is. She's playing very well. I think the Fever are down, but still have a chance.
No, they're off. They're done.
Yeah, they're down 2-0 or 0-2, rather.
I think it's only a 3-game series. Yeah, Caitlin Clark's rookie season's over in the WNBA. So yeah, I think it's a best of 3.
It is a best of 3 first round.
Yeah, they lost the first,
and then best of 5 for the second round, or the advanced rounds. Shout out to her for winning the Rookie of the Year. Let's go home with this, man. In this efficient breach of contract episode, what has not been breached is the unwritten contract, the agreement that college football seems to have made to deliver just some very riveting football. The increase to 12 teams means that each game has a little more at stake, because it used to be when you lost early, depending if it was a blowout, you're out of it. Now, every game, you got to pass the eye test. This week, I'll start with the lower of the two. You got Louisville at Notre Dame. Notre Dame at 14, Louisville at 17. Notre Dame is, after an NIU loss at home, a MAC team that very well might be going to the Mountain West soon, at least in football. Notre Dame still.
You try to make that loss sound worse and worse as you described it.
It's a bad loss, bro. We can't sugarcoat it.
We lost to a team that wants to join the Mountain West.
Join the Mountain West. But that Notre Dame is still in the hunt for the 12-team tournament. A must-win against Louisville to have any chance. What do you think this week? Do the Irish?
Hopefully, they got the wake-up call that they needed. If they beat Louisville and they beat USC, I mean, if they win out there in the playoffs, period. I don't see a scenario where they're not. They're already at 14th.
USC losing to Michigan hurt. They needed USC to be ranked a little higher, but it's 12 teams.
There's too many SEC teams that are going to beat each other that are ahead of us. They're at 14 now. If they beat Louisville, especially if they beat them convincingly, then they'll move up to probably 12. And then they're damn near in right there. And they keep fighting. And they'll get in. They'll be in the playoffs, because the loss to Northern Illinois was early in the year. People forget about that stuff. They'll say they're a different team today than they are, especially if Riley Leonard actually starts throwing the ball. And they'll say, "Oh, Riley Leonard has gotten so much better." There'll be a narrative for that, because it's good for football for them to be.
I feel like Notre Dame should be able to exercise its own efficient breach of contracts. Hey, Riley, I know we told you were our guy, but you got to get out of here tomorrow, Jack. We're going to.
They got to learn how to win with them. Riley Leonard can win you some games, but just they can't think. They got to stop thinking he's this big passing arm. He runs for 150 yards. Run him. Keep running him. He's going to get hurt though, but keep running him.
That sounds like we're going to become Navy offensively.
Not necessarily Navy, but he's not Dan Marino. I mean, I don't know why they thought he was. He wasn't Dan Marino at Duke. He was a runner.
So it's a fake bill of goods, man. Get it together, Riley Leonard. And then the game of all games, the SEC, like it has done for so many different seasons, gives us the first really must see. Stop what you're doing. Hell with all that. You got to watch this game. Georgia got to go over to Alabama. Georgia at number 1, Bama at 4. Who you got winning? Say it with your chest, and don't try to, when we come back next week, have an official breach of contract and say, I ain't say that, because we're going to have it recorded. Who you got winning? Georgia on the road, Bama at home.
Georgia by 3.
I'm going Bama at home. One thing I done learned, one thing for sure, two things for certain. Hard to beat them boys at home. Even post Nick Saban. They got pride. I'm going Bama at home. But we shall see. I'm looking forward to seeing that game. I'll give you last word before I give the summary and get on out of here, man. Anything you want to say to the people of us before we go?
To the people affected by the hurricane last night and today, I hope everything's good. I hope you didn't lose too much property. I definitely hope you didn't lose any life. We got lucky in our part of Florida. We didn't get anything severe. So shout out to all you guys. Have a great weekend. Pray for me because I'll be watching 5 volleyball games instead of watching all these lovely football games that are on TV. So, text your boy. If you see a good score or you so happen to catch a highlight, text your boy, man. He'll be.
Hey, that's called the parental contract. Girl dad. We just celebrated Daughter's Day. That's you, girl dad, man. That's a contract. Now, an efficient breach of contract for you would be find you a device somewhere, go in that bathroom, dog, and check out these games. I don't care how you do it, but it's gonna be some good games on this Saturday, dog. You might want to check it out.
Don't do me like that in front of everybody.
Yeah. It has been quite the show, man. We talked about these efficient breaches of contract. And a lot of this was driven by Matthew Sluka at UNLV and him deciding to redshirt. There have been so many different conversations about it. But I like the approach that we came with today because just like companies, right, companies have efficient breaches of contract. They decide, you know what, it makes more sense to breach this contract, pay the consequences, because net by breaching the contract and paying the consequences, when we get ourselves into another situation with more opportunity, the upside is a lot higher than the downside of breaching the contract. It's strategy. In each and every one of our lives, I know that the entertainment world was rocked this week by Cardi B and her now soon-to-be ex-husband Offset airing their dirty laundry in public. As we were talking initially about contract, you said, man, that sounds like a divorce. Talking about the efficient breach of contract, and I would argue that it is. But some divorces are better than others. Some strategies are better than others. But when it comes to the individual, understand that they should, and now in certain ways, especially in the college ranks, do have similar leverage to big business corporations, aka the institutions. And with that, great show yet again. The Big Flow Show came to you from the Middle Coast. This has been the efficient breach of contract episode of the Ball Hog Sports Talk. I am your boy, B. Brown, ESQ, aka the Ball Hog, aka the Mountain South, aka Mr. Success of the Bush, aka Barizi, aka the Councilman, aka Coach Bobby. And that's Coach Bobby. We got a good game this week. Let's go, Dark Knights. That's the hood, the Dark Knights hood. We will be doing fundraising. Come out to the fish fry, the 50-50 raffle, the virtual raffle is coming. Y'all support our kids, man. My contract to them is do anything and everything to prepare them, develop them on the field, and make sure that they have a path towards success in the future. So any help and all help would be greatly appreciated. For those who listen live in our Ball Hog Sports Talk Audience, we appreciate you. We ask you humbly, like we do every week, please like, comment, share, tag a friend, tag a foe, tag anyone that you know. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel and the podcast. Won't cost you a damn thing, but you'll be doing us a world of favors. With that, we is out. Peace.